Friends, I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to have a short topic for thinking, which is Mahatma and Maharishi. So today is Mahatma Gandhi's birthday, and I have put a short presentation for just initiating the discussion. We all know both of them. If you look at their sorry, there is quite a bit of echo. If you are not talking, please, can you go on mute?
Can you please put all others in mute? Umapati and others.
Yeah. So, if you look at their life and their lifespan, they have lived, their lives have overlapped a bit. But perhaps Mahatma Gandhi's main life was dedicated to national freedom, and perhaps Maharishi's life was mainly dedicated to peace. Both are linked, but one was very active in politics and the other one was very active in promoting spirituality. But there are so many common features I find. Non-violence, Swadeshi, and national freedom, Gandhi's main area of work. But if you look at Maharishi, this was mainly, Tani Manida Amedi, or inner peace, Kudumba maybe, family peace, and Ulaha maybe. But both of them lived a very simple life. And I wanted to draw out some commonalities that both have shown the rest of the world, but also perhaps dive a bit deeper into what it all means for us in our practice in everyday life. I think it's fair to say both of them also were very strong proponents of karma yoga. And they started with, securing basic needs, Mahatma Gandhi and Maharishi. Knowledge of self was very important to both of them, and the respect for others and moral values too. The Advaita philosophy particularly influenced both of them, but Mahatma Gandhi also has embraced other religions like Maharishi has. And the pursuit of truth was expressed in different ways, but the fundamental concept appears to be the same. And they both sacrificed themselves to the rest of the humanity. And this is very, very poignant today as we reflect on the life of Mahatma, but also other things that are happening, like how we treat women in our society, and how the war and indeed the pandemic has brought so much distraught, and how we're all necessarily seeking happiness and peace. The thing that struck me with Mahatma is this, which is happiness is when what you think, what you say, what you do are in harmony. Nothing but ennam, sol and செயல், thoughts, words and deeds. Idudha Maharishi also is saying, ennam, sol, செயல், இது மூன்றிலும் ஒழுக்கம் இருக்க வேண்டும் அப்படின்னு. So this is a subject that I would invite you to discuss in a minute, all your thoughts as well. Isn't it true that both the leaders in their own ways have ultimately sort of succinctly presented what happiness means, and I would say what peace means as well for self. But particularly, Maharishi has expounded the step-by-step actions we could take, whereas Mahatma probably showed how to live it in his own life and inspired others based on what was going on at that time in our country. And Maharishi followed that, but showed how to. Not only he lived it, but also showed and taught others how to. And that is probably what is staying still, and it's very relevant to today's context. And you probably remember this. We visited this topic, family peace, and this was very striking when I looked at it. Tolerance, adjustment, and sacrifice, particularly with our better halves, but at the same time, no comment, no command, or not demanding anything from anybody. These two sets of mindsets and actions appears that it originates from கருத்து வேறுபாடுகள்னு சொல்றோம். When there is a difference in opinion about a need or the intensity of the need or the quality of the things that we are trying to, the features of the things that we are trying to buy or get, and indeed the time scales. அதாவது வீட்டில் வந்து ஒரு கருத்து வேறுபாடோ ஒரு டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் இன் ஒப்பீனியன் வந்து இருக்கு அப்படின்னா தேவையா இல்லையா ஒரு விஷயமோ ஒரு கருத்து தேவையா இல்லையாங்கிறதுல வேறுபாடு வரலாம். எவ்வளவு அது தேவை, இப்போ ஒரு கார் வாங்குறோம், ஒரு ஃபோன் வாங்குறோம் அப்படின்னா அது என்ன ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் என்ன இருக்கணும் அதில் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு features discussion there may be differences in opinion, or indeed how much you are spending, there may be a difference in opinion. But the final one is time. இப்பயே அது வேணுமா இல்லை கொஞ்சம் தள்ளி போடலாமா, எது ஒன்று செஞ்சாலும் சொன்னாலும், that looks to me like a very useful framework even today in everyday life, both at home and at work and in general in our society. So I'd invite you also to think and share your ideas in this session. And fundamentally, Maharishi has given us a path to remain in peace, which is this. There is a step before meditation, which is physical exercises. I hope we are all practicing that regularly. And then indeed the meditative techniques that we've learned, which strengthens the potential of the mind, but it has to be put in practice, whether that is analyzing our thoughts or eradication of our worries, moralization of our desires, managing anger, all of that Maharishi has given us step by step. And once we practice that, we experience change in people around us as well as within us. That is what finding the peace and God realization is, according to all the spiritual leaders, particularly also Maharishi and Mahatma Gandhi in his life has shown us. So I thought I'll pull out this as a point of discussion today. Friends, I'm keeping it very, very short and brief. I really wanted us to be reminding of Mahatma's life on this day and Maharishi's teachings, and remind ourselves the path to health, the harmony and peace. I'm keeping it very light today. So I invite you all for a discussion. வாழ்க வளமுடன். Does anybody want to share any of your thoughts?
it's a good topic to start, Ananda, or anyone who wants to start sharing their experience.
Okay. I can see or Harry and Deepa also.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். It's a wonderful discussion, Dr. Shakti. Yeah, they both are, in line with the peace and harmony, but the one for the nation, the other for the individual family. Of course, when a family is in peaceful state, then only we can do something useful for the country or for nation or for the humanity in total. But they don't differ in any of their core principles. Although Gandhi looks like a saint, he is more politicians and more clever moves he had. The same way, although our Mahatma Maharishi looks just a saintly person, he also insists the core values and simple views and tasks which we imply in our houses. It's close to dealing tactically, I would say. So as you very well compared the individual principles and how the harmony, peace, and tolerance adjustments works in the family as well as in the humanity, it's nice topic to think about. 2nd of October, Gandhi Jayanti. I didn't even remember until you spoke about it. It's nice to be nice to talk about Gandhi and also nice to compare these two saints together.
Thank you, Hari. The main thing that also appears to me is the discipline they had, the self-discipline. If you look at their life stories, whether that is the time to wake up or regularity, essentially it's the habit formation. I feel that perhaps we are distracted so much with information, with technology, with so many things that are happening in our lives. A little bit of time for our own selves in discussions like this, and to invest some time in our physical health is feeling like it is very important these days. Without physical health and mental health, they both go together, obviously. But particularly when we want to think, there has to be an opportunity to sit down without much pain and groans. And that is what I find that physical exercise gives us, and that gets us into sitting down for meditation. So you've reminded me of the need for discipline in our own lives, and that is the habit formation as well. And Maharishi also put this together as Ulkam Kadamai Ihai. One of the principles is that, which is morality, duty, and charity. And all those things comes with some discipline and habit formation. Thank you, Harry, for sharing your thoughts. Deepa, please.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். And I think இன்னைக்கு காந்தி ஜெயந்தி, and just one more thing, இன்னைக்கு தான் எங்க அம்மா பிறந்த நாள் கூட. So I think they both share a lot of things to my own knowledge. But in tolerance தான் வந்து காந்தி கிட்ட இருந்து எடுக்கிற மிகப்பெரிய லெசன். அண்ட் டாலரன்ஸ்ன்ற வேர்ட் வந்து ஐ டோன்ட் நோ வெதர் இட்ஸ் மோர் அப்ளிகபிள் இன் வெஸ்டர்ன் வேர்ல்ட், பட் இந்தியாவுக்கே உலகத்துக்கே கற்றுக் கொடுத்தது வந்து இந்த டாலரன்ஸ் அண்ட் மன்னிக்கிற தன்மை அண்ட் அகிம்சை. இதெல்லாம் வந்து எப்படி முடியும் அப்படின்றத வந்து வேர்ல்டுக்கு ஷோகேஸ் பண்ண பெரிய லீடர்ஸ் இவங்கெல்லாம். அண்ட் தட்ஸ் வை தே ஆர் லெஜெண்ட்ஸ். அண்ட் த திங் ஐ லேர்ன்ட் ஃப்ரம் டாலரன்ஸ் இஸ், முன்னெல்லாம் என்னால் சில சமயம் டாலரேட் பண்ண முடியாது. தட் வில் லீட் டு ஆங்கர். But the more you do meditation, the more you do self-analysis, and the more you realize and go closer to the divine, then you realize like who are you to tolerate, or who are you to judge others, and who are you to the wider your wisdom gets, then it's easier for you to understand tolerance and practice tolerance. I think காந்திஜி கிட்ட இருந்து எடுக்கிற பெரிய லெசன் வந்து என்னுடைய எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் டாலரன்ஸ் தான். So thanks for bringing the topic and வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். You remind me of forgiving as well. Tolerance.
Definitely, yeah.
Comes with forgiveness, and also it's a bit of a selfish topic too, because if there is no tolerance, it manifests as anger or frustration, which is physiologically bad for our health.
Definitely. And the more we hold on to that angerness, the more we hold on to the vengeance, we are actually punishing ourselves. So in a way, it goes back to selfishness. But it benefits everyone, I think, at the end, practicing tolerance and forgiveness.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Dolores. Do you want to speak, Dolores?
You are on mute, I think, Dolores.
Don't know if we can unmute her from here. Let me try. Can you unmute?
Yes. I read a couple of days ago that we're talking about self-discipline, and it relates to what all of you have been saying. Self-discipline is in fact a form of self-love, because if we are disciplined, then we increase our own self-esteem in a sense, and therefore we are more at peace with ourselves. And if it just is something that we need to think about. If we are exerting self-discipline, we're actually loving ourselves and benefiting ourselves, as Deepa was just saying, that we are not punishing ourselves by increasing our anger and so on through being disciplined in our thoughts and how we conduct our lives. So I just thought I'd mention that that it is something that we do for ourselves when instead of just indicating that we are being tolerant towards other people, we're actually helping our own selves in the process. Just a thought.
And what might the reasons be for, you mentioned self-discipline, which in everyday life, it may be what time we wake up, what time we do something, and whether we do something regularly. In your view, what in current day life, what are the distractions, do you think, particularly for young people?
Certainly, one of the biggest distractions is the internet and everything that brings. All the so if we can, even as adults, I find it difficult to not to keep checking my phone for various messages, and every time it pings and so on. So that is something that can take over one's life, and with all the cyberbullying and everything else that happens with youngsters particularly, and all the trolling, maybe that is one area that we really need to concentrate and focus on, how we control that aspect, because that is a very modern thing. It didn't happen in the past. In the past, addictions were more externally orientated, gambling and alcohol and so on and so forth. But now this is a form of addiction, and exerting some self-discipline. Personally, I try not to touch my phone before 9 o'clock, which doesn't always happen, but and then to time, to give myself, to allocate certain amounts of time on it, because I know, especially when I'm tired and all that, I can just sort of carry on without putting any brakes on it. So in a day-to-day modern living, especially for youngsters, that's something that to my mind at least, is a very is something that they need training in. Well, I need training in as well. I mean, I have to actively think about not doing it as soon as I wake up in the morning or anything of that sort. So that's one area. And of course, there are other areas of self-discipline, like not being impulsive in what we say. when somebody irritates or does something, and the first thing is, somebody cuts across you when you're driving or something. The first thing is to get irritated by it, and somehow calming oneself down is a form of self-discipline. And that would, it's a simple instance, but controlling our impulses that are automatically generated to some extent.
Yeah, you just reminded me also about fear of missing out. I think with everything
Oh
on our
yes, FOMO.
fingertips, there is so much that I think it is there that we will miss out on things if you don't immediately know what's there, and also other people's expectations of us has become perhaps much more intense than the time that's there for us to think about our own self. And particularly on training, I think the education system has become so siloed and over specialized, I think, that there are some common things about life skills. Like if you buy something, it comes with all the instructions, thinking about IKEA, for example. But for life, there isn't. It's only the experience that gives us the skill set. But I do think for our youngsters and next generation, there is so much distraction and perhaps fear of missing out, particularly in parents as well, fear of their children missing out. So there is too many things distracting our attention, and that again brings back to self-knowledge and understanding how to calm our minds and brain frequencies and the techniques that we learned. So thank you for opening up that dimension. Thank you, Dolores. Is there anything you want to come back on, or is there anybody else wanting to come in? Shiva?
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Just to share one thing about ahimsa, which were practiced both by Gandhiji and Maharishi. And that's why we sort of, towards the end of our meditation, we say, நான் எனது வாழ்நாளில் எந்த உயிருக்கும் மனதுக்கும் துன்பம் தர மாட்டேன், துன்பப்படுவர்களுக்கு என்னாலான முடிந்த உதவிகளை செய்வேன். So I just want to bring that point out, how Maharishi and Gandhiji followed the path of ahimsa, of hurting and of not hurting either physically or mentally to anyone.
Very true, very true. And if you look at what we say after meditation, Deepa, do you want to come in?
No, on a different topic, but I'll wait till you finish.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, where if you observe what we affirm after meditation, like Shiva was saying, we bless. Well, first of all, we wish and we suggest that we have our own good health, long life, and that is being kind to us. And then we bless everybody that's close to us. And then we actually take that twofold path of virtue, which is what Shiva said. நான் எனது வாழ்நாளில் யாருடைய உடலுக்கும் மனதிற்கும் துன்பம் தர மாட்டேன், துன்பப்படுபவர்களுக்கு என்னால் முடிந்த உதவிகளை செய்வேன். Meaning, I won't harm anybody physically or mentally, which is seriously ahimsa, isn't it? And but then I find that we go further on when we say world blessings, and which is actually very much related to what Mahatma Gandhi was also doing, which is, may the leaders of every nation attain divine realization. May there be peace without any wars, and may people live in harmony. I think that expands to the rest of the society from Maharishi's point of view. And I also think it's the same with Mahatma Gandhi's wishes and his ambitions. But even better, at the end we say Marai வாழ்த்து, which is very relevant for these days, which is blessings for rain. In other words, how do you live in harmony with the environment and the world, the natural environment? And that's another dimension of living in harmony, and actually ahimsa towards the climate, towards the natural world around us. Shiva, you just brought that out from me. Thank you.
Thank you. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Deepa?
I just wanted to say, I think October marks Black History Month after George Floyd event. I think we started like remembering October as a Black History Month. And Mahatma Gandhi plays a very huge role even in those days. After he was thrown out of the train, he raised the voice. And I think even though he was a barrister, he still raised the voice through to not to discriminate, and the only way we can do that through wisdom and tolerance, and all these concepts are connected, and we are all equal, so it doesn't matter the color of the skin or whatever materials we own or whatever positions we held. We're all equal, and these blessings really help to understand that, or reiterate that we can be happy only when everybody in the world are happy. So that's a big thing, I think. And once we start interrupting that harmony, then even though we are wealthy or even though we are in a good position, I don't think we can be happy. If something's happening the other end of the world, it still affects us. So harmony will have to be practiced only when everyone's happy, and it can be practiced when everyone's happy. So blessings really help me to reiterate that, and it's really useful to do that regularly. Thank you.
When you mentioned Black History Month, I read somewhere, I think this was like centuries ago, Sissoko has said, being ignorant of history is same as never growing up as an adult, or there will be not a chance to grow up as an adult. Which again, if you link back to some of the Karma Yoga principles, what we call a Sayal Virlaivu Tattvam. Being aware of the past actions and results and applying the understanding of current circumstances in taking any action to remain in peace, but also to achieve the objectives is very relevant here. And that history is something that probably has not been taught these days very well. But yeah, thank you, Deepa. Thank you for that. And okay, yeah, if there isn't any other comment, நீங்க தான் சொல்றீங்களா?
இல்ல உலகபல நட்பு சொல்லிடலாம். Thank you for the discussions.
Just one more thing, Shaktiya, just came to my mind at the last minute. Just about this sacrifice, in the sense Mahatma sacrificed to the nation as well as Maharishi to the general well-being of all of us. So we all should sacrifice whatever things. Of course, we can't be Mahatmas or Maharishis, but we should sacrifice in whatever way we can. Little things that we can do to the others. So I just thought I will conclude with that.
Very, very apt conclusion, Shiva. We don't have to sacrifice any big things. Even if we sacrifice a little bit of our ego and attachment towards our own life partners, I think that's what I experienced with this over the years. Certainly has brought me peace, and I hope that rings true to many of us. So thank you, Shiva. On that note, we will conclude this session with Ulaga Nalavalthu. உலகமெல்லாம் பருவமழை ஒத்தபடி பெய்யட்டும், உழவரெல்லாம் தானியத்தை உவப்புடனே பெருக்கட்டும், பல தொழில்கள் புரிகின்ற பாட்டாளி உயரட்டும், பகுத்துணர்வில் தொகுத்துணர்வு பண்பாட்டை உயர்த்தட்டும், கலகங்கள் போட்டி பகை கடந்து ஆட்சி நடக்கட்டும், கல்லாமை கடன் வறுமை கலங்கங்கள் மறையட்டும், நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய் ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும், நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும். வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you, Dr. Sakti. A very good discussion today, especially the remembrance of Mahatma Gandhi. And next week class will be taken by Deepa's Amma Amuda Arulnithi, Tunai Perasiriya. Thank you for all, and have a good week, and we'll catch you up next week. Thank you. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன்.